Hi, it's Ness from Lockyer. This week I just want to show you another chalkboard with some flowers. So this time I've started with a clean board, just wiped it all down, just give it a dry over with a cloth and then air dried a little minute. And then I'm doing a fairly simple little saying for this one: do more of what makes you happy. And I wanted to do a little mix of some handwritten calligraphy, or your own style of handwriting, and then add some capitals and a little bit of shading, and then finish it off with some floral. So at the moment I'm just going through and writing the basics, and I didn't want it to feel very structured. I wanted it to be a little more flowy, seeing that things that make you happy are normally not things that are very structured. Well, as far as I'm concerned, they aren't. So just going through, remembering from previous videos, I've mentioned how sometimes it's better to add that downstroke as you go rather than doing it at the end, so you don't get chalk dust and smudge all over your work. So I wanted happy to be the main focal point, or the main word really of this piece, and I wanted that to be in capitals. So all I'm doing here is just adding just one line and then going through and just thickening them up. And you can always come back and play around with this once you get the basic word in. Just go back in, see if there's any little bits that need playing about with. Now, adding a few little playful lines, and then in the negative space around some of the words, I wanted to add some florals. So how I do florals is I add a little bit of shading to the tops of the petals, you can see here, and then my finger, I just drag that chalk dust down into the centre, which makes it quite a soft finish to your flower. You may need to sharpen a few times with this because you don't want it to be blunt when you're going through and adding the little details to the petals. So just go around and to each of the petals, depending on how big your petals are, you can either just use, index fingers, but little pinky fingers come in quite handy for smaller spaces. And then you can also use your Q-tip for any little parts in the centre, or, if you wanted to add little seed pods or even smaller leaves, you can just use a Q-tip to help blend those parts in. With the leaves, I normally go back and just colour or draw the veins in again once I'm done. But here I am adding the shadowing again, just a little shade. Doesn't have to be neat because you're going to smudge it anyway. And then just drag your finger through, and it just automatically leaves the centre part without as much dust. And you can do it the other way as well. You can put the shading on the inside of the of the flower near the stamen and then go back the way. So just do it in opposite. I like to always put in different size flowers, buds, things like that. But this is just a bit basic, just a basic sort of way to show you. Once you're done, then you can take some of that dust and go through and either do it with your finger. If you want a little bit heavier, use your chalk. Just lay it on the side and just do it quite light. Then you can take your finger and then just rub it in. It kind of gives a little bit of playfulness to it, I think, and almost a little bit of a vintage feel. Anything that you want to clean up, you can go through with just a wet Q-tip. You can use these little eraser pens, which are coming quite handy, but I'm just going to stick with the wet Q-tip for this. So I just go through with my finger, and anything that still hasn't softened, I'm just going to go back over with my finger. And it just softens the whole piece down a little bit. And you can go through and go over every single letter, but I'm just doing the bits that needed a little bit of cleaning up. And then I'm going to add a little bit of shadowing in through the middle of these pictures. So I tend to use the wet end of the Q-tip and then the dry end just to blend it in a little bit more. And then anything that you're still not happy with, you can just go through and finish off. And then I'm going to add just a shading line. So just a little bit more of a shadow. I just thought it needed a little bit something else. And we've touched on this in previous tutorials. You can check back. But this is just a nice little one to play about with.